Yeah, thank you for everybody who's tuning in. I'm your editor, as I said, for Esconway Media, and today we are at the Banjul High Court where we've just witnessed the AKI trial. If many of you can remember, in 2022, some 70 children died after they ingested some medicines that were manufactured by Maiden Pharmaceuticals and imported by Atlantic Pharmaceuticals. And today is the continuation of that trial. The trial started back in July 2023. 27 parents are seeking over $450 million in damages, and $5 million which they are seeking is for the death of each child, plus $10 million for suffering of each child. This is what they are seeking. They are also seeking series of declarations that the children died from these medicines that were imported, that were manufactured by Maiden and imported by Atlantic, that the MCA failed in its duties, that also the Ministry of Health failed in its responsibility to oversee the MCA. And one of them, which they are seeking for, that has already taken place, is that the license for importation for both Atlantic and Maiden will be cancelled, and that has already been done. And we know that for now, Atlantic has been stopped operating in the Gambia. Even Maiden Pharmaceuticals in India has also been stopped from operating. Now, we are going to dive into today's court hearing and give you the details on that. We've taken significant notes. Delayed start. The matter started very late today. It started at 11:20 instead of it starting at 10 o'clock when it should have started from 10 and ended at 12. But the matter continued further all the way to 1 o'clock today, right? And Miss Yasin Senghor, Counsel Yasin Senghor, she represented the plaintiffs, that's the 27 bereaved parents, whilst Counsel S. Kamara represented the 3rd, 4th, and 5th defendants, who are the Ministry of Health, MCA, and the Attorney General, Ministry of Justice. That's the 3 defendants that Counsel S. Kamara represented. And the main topic of discussion for today was a document which was admitted in court. Now, this document, as I said, has been admitted as evidence, contains statistics, it contains information, biomedical information, as well as medical data as to the cause of death, what killed some of these children, why they died. Justice Jaite insisted that this document had to be tabled as evidence, and there was no objection from the defense. Let's continue. We will continue giving you more details. Now, the matter continued, and of course, the Presidential Task Force report, as well as another report which was by the Ministry of Health, CAC, Casualty Assessment report, was also discussed, and these documents are already tendered as evidence in the court, right? As we said, the case started in July 2023, which will make it going on for almost 3 years now by July this year, which is just not too far around the corner. And let's continue giving you more details from the case today that we took. It was highlighted that the document, which was the main discussion and main bone of contention for today, was document collected by the EDC, Epidemiology Disease Control Unit in the Ministry of Health. That's what Dr. Bittaye said. And that in many cases they went out there to try it in the field, sometimes in rural area and sometimes in the urban area. In the rural area, they didn't have access to testing equipment and all of that. So they had to find means to classify the cases. And they had different words like suspected cases, they had confirmed cases. These were all put into the document. But Dr. Bittaye highlighted that there were lots of different criteria that were used for these different criteria, for these different labels that they've been labeling the cases as confirmed and suspected. And they went through a number of the, the names that were in there. All the names that I'm about to read are children below the age of 8 years old, very young. And quite a good number of them were listed out. Mohamed Kijera, The third plaintiff, Suleiman Federa, Aminata Dembele, Seth Bah, Musa Kamaso. These are all young children who passed away in this country after they allegedly took the drugs. Madeline Mendy, Adam Mashedi, and the list goes on and on. Let's continue to give you a flavor of some of them. Fatoumata Keita, Ismaila Danso, Laming Sanyang, and then you have Alpha Bakari Bari, Mohamed Baji, Mohamed Fadel Kamara, and Babukar Baji. These are all children that have died in this country. So 27 parents are taking the matter to court, but the list was up to 82 long. So not all of those in the list are taking the matter to court. It's very important to highlight that. Dr. Bittaye, as I said, he mentioned that these are children that are 8 years and younger. And some of them are identified as suspected, others are identified as confirmed. And we will continue to give you more information on this. Let's continue to give you more details. One thing that was stated was, for the cases that were considered as confirmed, these were, especially in the rural areas where they didn't have testing, these were cases where children didn't pass urine for over 24 hours, but they were not tested. However, in the urban areas, they were tested and confirmed. So this was in the list. And then one of the things which was a bone of contention was towards the end, there was a huge debate between Counsel Yassin and Dr. Bittaye. Counsel Yassin pointed out that the conclusion of the two reports being the first report that was the Ministry of Health's own report, CAC, Casualty Assessment Report, that was by the Ministry of Health. And the second report, the Presidential Task Force report, both of them concluded that the children all died due to medicines that they ingested, manufactured by Maiden Pharmaceuticals, imported by Atlantic Pharmaceuticals. It goes as far as to say, without any qualms. However, Dr. Bittaye was of the view that he didn't align himself exactly with that view. He denied the conclusion, but he agreed with the rest of the document. In his explanation, he said the report the body was talking about, that they could not rule out that contamination was a possibility in some cases. And for him, that did not align exactly with the conclusion. He felt that the conclusion was not does not align together with the body. So in essence, he was denying the conclusion, saying that he cannot say definitely that align himself with what the conclusion is saying. But Justice Jaite even went as far as to read out this section. And when he was reading it out, I had some of them. It's here. It says, the children died as a direct result of contaminated medicines imported by Atlantic Pharmaceuticals and manufactured by Maiden. Without any qualms, Justice Jaite continued to try to, apologies for the noise, Justice Jaite tried to bring this up to him, same as Counsel Yassin, tried to bring this up to him, but Dr. Bittaye was of the view that since inside the report it was saying possible, and in some cases it was saying that it was not conclusive, that in some areas it was saying it's possible, in his view, he couldn't exactly conclude that, align himself with what the two reports produced by the Ministry of Health. The other one, Presidential Task Force, he couldn't go exactly entirely with them. But tomorrow's case will continue. We are hopefully nearing the end. As I said, this case has been going on for 3 years now. When we spoke to Counsel Yassin, she informed us that tomorrow they would see, the defense would do re-examination of the witness, who is Dr. Bittaye. And that should conclude the issue of cross-examining or reviewing witnesses. That's what the Counsel Yassin has informed us. And after that, they will each give their arguments. When I asked her who would go first, she told me that the defense would first argue, and then the plaintiff, would argue, and then after that would be the all-important ruling I asked her, do you think we would have a verdict by the end of this year, before the end of the year? She said she anticipates that to happen. But tomorrow, the case will continue, and we expect the defense to finalize their cross-examination of Dr. Bittaye, which will mark a major milestone in this AKI trial that has been going on for almost 3 years now. I'm your reporter, Yusuf Taylor, for Askanwi Media. Join us tomorrow for another stage in the conclusion of this AKI trial. Thank you very much. Okay, how long was I going?